welcome to another episode of In the Game. I'm Randall Ledet.
I'm Ashley Moore.
And today we'll give you a preview of UCF versus Houston, as well as an overview of the season. Today, the Cougars are currently 2-2 on the season, with wins against UNLV and Grambling State and losses to BYU and UTSA. You want to touch on those losses?
Oh yeah, let's touch on the first loss against UTSA in the brand new stadium, the EEQ Stadium. So it was supposed to be a pumped up game where our fans were revving on the Cougs to win, and they lost. And it was a horrible loss because the offensive line was trampled by UTSA's defensive line. The offense didn't have chemistry. Our third-row defense came at the beginning of the game, but they didn't stay until the end of the game because they were so tired. Fatigue was a big issue in the defense playing the whole game. So that was the first loss. BYU, I mean, toughest game of the season. Cougars stayed in there for a little bit, and then they just couldn't take the win. So yeah, the Cougars are not so consistent this season. So I'm hoping they can come up and try to bring it around as they start conference play.
Right. Positives from the UTSA game was definitely that we had a full stadium, but at the same time, every game I've gone to since the stadium has not nearly been as full. So I hope to see a sea of red this Thursday.
I mean, those Houston fans, they say Houston fans are not loyal. Yeah. We're going to see. First game against UCF, it's going to be a good one. Let's talk about some of the Houston wins.
Okay.
What do you think about those?
The Houston wins, Grambling State, I don't think that's a good measuring stick of how well Houston is. Grambling State's a pretty cake matchup in my opinion.
SWAC conference.
And yeah, the SWAC conference. As well as UNLV. UNLV is a decent Mountain West team, but I like the way we came out and played. And we ran for 399 rushing yards. And Levine asked more from us next week, actually, rushing, which I didn't think was possible, but that's what he wants. Either way, we played really well against UNLV, and I was really excited to see that. So.
Okay, UCF is 1-2. Their one loss, with their one win coming from Bethune-Cookman, and their two losses from Penn State and Missouri, top 21 when they beat them. So UCF hasn't really played someone of our caliber yet,
right.
Because they've either played really below the caliber of Cougars football or above the caliber like Missouri and Penn State. So what do you expect to happen first game of the conference?
For the first game of the conference, I think it's a pretty big measuring stick for both teams, honestly. They played well against Penn State, and it wasn't a game they were expected to win, but they only lost by 2. I think it was because of a missed field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And Missouri obviously is a much better team than they are, so they obviously got beat pretty handily. So I expect UCF to compete well with us, and definitely for it to be a close game.
I mean, what does UCF need to do to win? What do you think? What has to happen for UCF to beat Houston?
Okay, so for what UCF has to do to win is definitely be well offense. Offensive-wise this year, their quarterback has been sporadic, kind of inconsistent. Justin Holmes got 558 yards in the season for 4 touchdowns. But what really has showed up is their running game. Running game so far, the leading rushers rushed for 137 yards, and they ranked 117th in the nation.
William Sandback is their starting running back, who has rushed for 137 yards. But then you have to look at the backup. The backup, Travis Wilson, has rushed for 62 yards.
Right.
Where is their run game? So clearly, any coordinator on Houston's football coaching staff knows that UCF is going to throw the ball, and we have an amazing secondary, as you have mentioned. We have an amazing secondary. They call them the Jack Boys.
Yes, they actually are called the Jack Boys. I guess they call them that because they force so many turnovers. Last season they were number 1 in the nation for turnovers, and this year they're again number 1 in the nation for interceptions and number 2 in the nation in turnovers.
Yeah,
and that's led by Trayvon Stewart. So.
Yeah, so come on. I mean, UCF has to do better with the running game because Houston is going to be sitting there waiting on the pass to happen.
Right.
And they're so spread out. Justin Holman has passed to at least 10 different receivers more than 3 times apiece. So he really doesn't have that go-to guy to go to on his offense. That's going to be a big struggle for them if they hope to come out on top against the Houston Cougars.
Absolutely.
So what do you think the Houston Cougars need to do to win the game against UCF?
What the Cougars need to do to win the game is run the ball. In their 2 losses, they rushed for negative 26 yards and 10 yards. And in their wins, they've rushed for easily over 100 yards. And last week, 399 yards against UNLV. The dynamic duo of Kenneth Farrow and Ryan Jackson needs to show up and be strong so that when they run the ball, that opens up the game for passing. And receivers like Daniel Spencer and Deontay Greenberry, who are both have over 250 yards in the season, can play well.
I mean, let's look at the inconsistencies with the Houston run game. First game, negative 26 yards, and then another game they had 10 yards, and then a big jump to 399 yards. What can happen? I mean, why are they so inconsistent? Why do you think they're so inconsistent when it comes to the run game?
I think their offensive woes in general are coming from the fact they have a new offensive coordinator this year, so definitely trying to get that chemistry back. Otherwise, I mean, they have the same returning core from last year. All the players just about came back, and they're led by a strong center in Bryce Redmond, so I don't know.
Yeah, the offensive line has struggled this season. UTSA's defensive line demolished UH's offensive line, so it depends on what offensive line we see shows up in this game. Bryce Redmond, starting center, Monkey, Texas. He has to lead his offensive line too, because if they're the key to this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is clearly going to show up. Offense, we have great standout players, but the defensive line, everything is counting on the defensive line. For John McCorn to stay healthy, the defensive line has to be there. For the running game to get better, as Coach Levine stated in his news conference, the offensive line has to play well. So I feel like that's a key factor when it comes to Houston winning. And you brought up defense. Defense is clearly amazing. Defensive line is captained by Joey Boo, and then you have Derek Matthews with the linebackers, and you have Trayvon Stewart with the secondary. They're just an amazing team, amazing defense, and I do expect the defense to at least show up.
Okay. So what do you think are the key factors for a UH win?
Defense.
Yeah.
Offensive line, defense is going to show up. Offensive line has to show up. That is a must. Like, they have to show up for a win, so that we can run the game, run the ball, keep John McCorn in the pocket, and keep the receivers spread out.
Okay. So this is already a pretty heated rivalry based on last year's game, but our star receiver, Deontay Greenberry, decided to add a little fuel to the fire, and I'm going to read his quote, actually. He says, "We really want to get after these guys from the jump and hit them in the mouth." So he's definitely not taking a modest approach to this game.
He's not taking a modest approach, but then again, it is Deontay Greenberry. His numbers stand. His numbers can talk for his mouth.
Right.
When you put up numbers like he puts up, you can't say anything you want to say, but when it comes to competition and rivalry, you basically have open rounds to talk.
Yeah.
And UCF is clearly not the same team they were last year. Lane Bortles was gone, number 3 pick overall in the draft last year. And UCF is a weaker team. Houston needs to get after them at the jump, because Houston, if they're not leading in the first half, their statistics have shown that Houston, is more prone to lose a game if they're not winning in the first half, in the first quarter.
Right.
So yeah, they need to jump it, get on the gun after the first quarter. Defense shows up. If the defense shows up, this game is over.
Right. All right, well, let's get some predictions, I guess. What do you think?
I say 31-24, Houston over UCF.
Okay, I'm saying 31-28, Houston over UCF.
Okay, so how do you feel about if Houston wins, how the conference play will be going forward?
All right. Like I said, it can't be reiterated enough. This is definitely the biggest measuring stick for Houston for the conference. First conference home game, Thursday night, ESPN prime time. So we're really going to see how they show up. And if they can win this game, their other really big competitive games would be Temple on October 17th, as well as Cincinnati, who's led by a really good quarterback in Gunnar Kiel. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Well, all right. I'd like to thank you all for watching in the game today. I'm Randall Ledet.
I'm Ashley Moore.
And remember, don't just sit there.